Is the IRS constitutional? Firstly, let's address the elephant in the room. Is the IRS constitutional? Did the founders of the United States of America really want or believe that the government had a right to take portions of other Americans' income in order to fund their ideologies? While the first question is debatable, the answer to the second question is absolutely no. The reason I say this is because of the 16th Amendment. It reads as follows. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. The reason I use this to say income tax was never the intention of our founders is because this amendment didn't come along until 1913. From 1776 to 1913, the idea of income tax was non-existent in America. The founders never wanted anything spoken of in the 16th Amendment. But in regard to the first question of whether or not the outcome of the 16th Amendment is constitutional, let's look over the arguments that are used against the IRS from their own website. First of all, the First Amendment has been used to try and say that income tax is unconstitutional. More specifically, they appeal to the part dealing with religion. They don't want to pay taxes that can be used to fund something they don't believe in, like abortions. This objection has been shot down by the Supreme Court. You will notice that this has become standard procedure. Since 1803, the Supreme Court has been allowed to elevate itself even higher than the Constitution. This should be alarming because it is the taxes of the people that go to fund the paychecks of the Supreme Court justices. How can they make any ruling regarding taxation without bias? I would suggest that it is impossible. Therefore, their rulings should be null and void whenever they deal with taxation. Regarding this first objection, the case to look at is United States v. Lee, 1982. Here, the Supreme Court decided that the IRS was more important than what the individual believes. They stated the tax system could not function if denominations were allowed to challenge the tax system because tax payments were spent in a manner that violates their religious belief. So it is clear that taxation is more important than the individual's held beliefs. This is just one reason why America is no longer a nation by and for the people. Their taxation schemes trump the people even in the area of their faith. A sad reality indeed. Secondly, many have appealed to the Fourth Amendment to avoid income taxation. It reads as follows. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. I would certainly say that current taxation is an unreasonable seizure, but that's just my opinion, and since I'm not a justice, it doesn't matter. Now notice, this amendment states that no warrant can be issued without probable cause supported by oath or affirmation. With that in mind, consider the court's decision in the Nevis v. Tomlinson 2014 case. They stated, IRS need not meet any standard of probable cause to obtain enforcement of a summons. Wow! The IRS got a special exclusion from the Constitution. A warrant can't be obtained against a person's possession without probable cause unless you are the IRS. Also, in the United States v. Powell 1964 case, the court ruled the government need make no showing of probable cause to suspect fraud. So they can accuse you of fraud for no reason. That puts you in the position of guilty until proven innocent. Who else but the IRS can enjoy such outlandish and unconstitutional privileges? And who gave them this power? The justices. See why I question whether or not they can really rule unbiasedly on a matter that impacts the source of their paychecks? Thirdly, appeal has been made against income tax using a portion of the Fifth Amendment as follows. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. If my dollars are taken for the public to use for abortions, welfare, etc., I am to be compensated. If not, the action is illegal. What compensation do I get out of some woman I don't even know having her baby brutally killed off? None. I get nothing for that. But my dollars are being taken for that use anyways. Concerning the skipping of due process, the courts always throw out those cases as frivolous or without merit. Some of these Americans never got their day in court. Fourthly, the Fifth Amendment is used to say that filing returns could fall under self-incrimination and therefore should not be legal. However, since you can't go to jail for not paying taxes, sending in the returns is not self-incriminating. Only lying on the returns is. Fifthly, appeal is made with the 13th Amendment against income taxation. It reads as follows: neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Once again, cases on these grounds are simply thrown out based on the opinions of the justices and not what the Constitution actually says. They are classed as frivolous. Consider the Pork versus Broderick 1954 case. The statement made in that circuit court was, if the requirements of the tax laws were to be classed as servitude, they would not be kind of involuntary servitude referred to in the 13th Amendment. So they essentially stated that while taxation is a form of involuntary servitude, that's not what the 13th Amendment condemns. But that's not what it says. It says no involuntary servitude is allowed, period. A judge can have an opinion, but that bias should not be admitted into the courtroom and made to govern our lives. We should not be governed by opinions, but sadly we are. Also, I want to consider the statement from the United States versus Drefty 1983 case. Regarding the 13th Amendment, the court said it is inapplicable where involuntary servitude is imposed as punishment for a crime. So they admit that taxation is indeed a form of servitude and that being imprisoned for noncompliance is also involuntary servitude. But since it is punishment for a crime, it is allowed. They never deny that taxation is borderline slavery. Never. Sixthly, the objection has been raised that the IRS is not even a part of the government, but rather is a private entity. Unfortunately, this is false. The IRS is a part of the government. However, the IRS does serve private interests. Remember, from the introduction that the Federal Reserve and the IRS were born the same year, the Federal Reserve does have private owners, stockholders. They take a cut out of everything that comes through the Federal Reserve, and their identities are kept secret. And that's who the American people are slaving away for, the unknown elite in the Fed. So the IRS is a part of the government that serves the private interests of others. So this objection is valid. The system is set up, though, so you can't do anything about it in the courts. So I will leave it to the reader to decide if the IRS is constitutional. It would not have been supported by our founders, or else they would have put it into the Constitution to begin with. It has been supported by the courts, but are the courts constitutional in their rulings? I hope you have at least seen that we cannot fully depend upon the integrity of the judges and justices to remain unbiased, which will be an important point later in this booklet.